Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Siphon TCG. Flinging that guitar. I'm gonna be honest, I am kind of sad and sick. I'm mostly sad. Rarely do I actually talk about my feelings when it comes to my opinions, but while I don't think it's usually relevant to talk about feelings and opinions, I'm gonna do it today. This is different. So, for people who have followed my channel, Boltyn's been a big part of it. And it's been a hero I've loved ever since I sleeved it up. And I was one round away from qualifying for U.S. Nationals after my first event with him. But I've also had some very low lows with Boltyn. If you guys remember the Calling Charlotte, I went 2-7 in Swiss. 2-7. Dude, most people go 2-2 drop. I went 2-7. I just took that record and was just like, how can I make it worse? And one of my wins was so unclean too. Realistically, so I went 1-8. I'm just gonna say I went 1-8 in the Calling. And but again, I've also had highs. I've went undefeated in armories, and games never felt close. But I've also went 0-3 in armories. Wondering why I literally even showed up. And with all that, I've stayed close, and I've stayed up to date with Boltyn. So your next question is Siphon. Well, why are we here? Good question. I was supposed to release a Boltyn guide about a month ago, and I never did. And I kept putting it off, and putting it off, and putting it off. And I informed you guys about one of the reasons, being that I thought the build needed to fight the Kermeta, and I had good results with day one. But after that, I lost almost 20 something games in a row. I don't know if it might have that much, but like I want to say 20 sounds about how much it was, and it was so heartbreaking. It felt like dude, I'm nuts. There was a point where I was just like, maybe I shouldn't just play. Maybe I shouldn't play Fab. Because I don't believe even the worst player should lose that many games in a row. Especially with Hero Win, like, dude, half the players don't even know what Boltyn does. And I've had hundreds, and I might cut out. I hate it. But I've had hundreds and hundreds of games with Boltyn. I know my matchups. Most people don't even know what my hero does. It just felt like I was losing everything. I was losing to aggro decks, I was losing to combo decks, I was losing to fatigue effects. Hell, dude, I lost to an Azalea that wasn't running arrows. I lost to a Talishar Arachne, dude. I lost to a Talishar Arachne. I lost to a Talishar Arachne because they said my weapons are just bad. I lost to a Talishar Arachne. Like, it was so disheartening. So I put the deck down, and for what point in time, I actually thought it was going to be the end. But then it hit me. I was looking at the deck the wrong lens, maybe. Maybe there was something I was doing on my end. Maybe it was just me that was in the wrong. It wasn't the deck. So I watched Jimmy Lee's video. He has a couple videos on Card Advantage talking about Boltyn. And I watched some of his gameplay as well. And I enjoyed everything. I thought everything he was saying made sense. Everything in the deck made sense. I seen one issue. His playstyle and the way he likes to play Boltyn, he actually likes to play Raiden favored. I don't like Raiden favored, even though he does do combo secondary when it's needed. I just don't like Raiden. I'm honest. I am a Raiden hater. I just want to make my Lumina go Boomina. Pause. Pause. So what I did, I went back to the drawing board and asked myself, if I wanted to play Boltyn, and I wanted to play pure combo Boltyn, I needed to ask and answer myself some questions. Number one, is pure combo even viable in this meta? Number two, what am I aiming to beat? 3, on average, what turn can I pull off the combo gold fishing? Number 4, is there any cards that can increase the consistency and the speed of my deck? Number 5, if I was to take this to a major event right now, what do I think would happen? And that's a lot. That is a lot. So why don't we break this down a little bit simpler? So let's go question by question, because these are questions I literally typed out and asked myself. So I'll read out my answers. So I typed in, is pure combo viable? And I said, to me, looking at the water lens, I think yes. I have heard from a ton of Odin players that that he's poor into combo, and ever since the printing of Spirit, my win rate versus Odom has gone up. And I do think that we are in a good spot, especially without things like hypothermia stopping us. That we now there's a lot of things that we can prepare for. The only thing being Stalagmite and Blizzard, but we can prepare ourselves rather than just trying to brute force it ourselves. So I think in that aspect, I think we're really good. Spots in our center, while it can be tricky to combo with them having similar tools that hold them. I think I think if we prepare ourselves for the combo, their disruption will not matter, and we can combo through it. Versus aggro, we can goldfish, be faster than them. Good. If we have to block, cool. The majority of cards on deck block for 3. We can do the classic block 2 cards, play 2 cards. We can combo while that doesn't always work versus Fire and Briar and now Katsu. It still may give us enough time to find the combo. Versus the roll decks, I think as long as we outspeed them, we win that very consistently. So next question I ask myself, what are we aiming to beat? I think aggro decks, most formats are default. I think aggro is honestly just easy because everyone's trying to figure out, oh, where are the good cards, where are the new cards? And you know aggro does literally every single format. Turns things sideways. With control, with mid-range, you have to make a lot of decisions, especially when it comes to your build. Aggro is just like, alright, where are the best attacking cards I can play? Alright, these cards? Alright, cool, turn sideways. Good luck. But here's the thing, I also think combo is very good in the aggro. And if we're able to establish a good board into ice, I think we can actually beat the majority of things in the field. I think probably one of the worst decks we can fight right now would be Lexi and Azalea, which unfortunately they did get a boost from outsiders. I haven't actually got to play those matchups a ton, and I don't think they're going to go too well, but if those are our worst 2 matchups and we have a good matchup against everything else, I do think we might be in a good spot. What is the average turn I can combo off goldfishing? Now, this was a very hard question to answer. So I typed in, because we can control when we combo, similar to Kano, what the issue with Kano, though, is they can have an A plus B line that can win them the game. But us, we must have 2 to 3 cards in our hand to combo, while Kano can actually include Wildfire and Blazing Aether in most of their combos. They still have a lot of avenues to actually do massive damage without that. And a lot of times, all they need is you to be at a certain point, and then whatever's in their combo doesn't actually matter. They can still chunk you and do massive damage, or just still straight up kill you without arcane damage skills. If I had to put a number on it, and I'd say like there was no interaction, we are untouched, I would say turn 4. I think we can probably combo turn 4 because we'll have enough cards in Sun as long as we actually draw our combo pieces. I think we can actually combo off turn 1, turn 2. I've done it a few times and seen it before, but that requires things like Spirit of Anaria in your opening hand or in your second hand. And even those hands are kind of like not always comboable because if you're playing like D-Reacts and stuff, well, those cards don't charge, and then that's the card that you're charging, which is usually fine, but then for some reason, if you need it later, you're kind of losing. There's a lot of weird things about when you can combo. Now, we do have tutor targets. That is one thing we say. We do have 6 copies of Lumina Ascension in our deck. But the issue is, let's say we draw those turn 1, turn 2. You're like, oh, cool, I drew my combo pieces. Oh, cool, well, I only have 1 card, and so I can't combo off with that. Well, I guess I have to block with them now. Or, hopefully you have an avenue to pitch. If you don't have an avenue to pitch them, or if you have to do like a really, really sucky thing like pitch the Sabers randomly, I genuinely think you probably just lose a game on the spot. But that's for a later thing down the road. Is there any cards that I can include in this deck to increase the consistency and the speed? And of course, the answer isn't really meant to take at face value. The deeper question is there a way we can combo faster consistently? There are a few parts to this, and one of them is tutoring out Spirit better than holding onto the Beacon of Victory? And in my testing, I'm actually solely thinking yes, it is worth it. Number 2, can we afford to not add too much air to the deck to speed up our combo turns like Whisper the Oracle, Sif, things that make Ponder tokens, right? Can I just see more cards more often? And can we arrive at a build that doesn't actually have these cards but just not do anything? So let's say I have 9 Whisper the Oracle, 9 Sift. Well, that's now 18 cards that I added to my deck that don't have the keyword charge. And in the case of Sif specifically, well, I need other cards in hand to make Sif good. And if I'm forced to, let's say, block with 3 cards, well, now Sif's just horrible. Because now it's just, well, I guess I pitched the Sift. And it's not a card we want to see either. We want to, if we see a card like Sift, we want to be playing it immediately when we can. Even if it's just one card, even if we just have one card, we will take that. But if our only card in hand is Sift, we're not looking too good. If I was actually to take this to a major event right here, right now, what do I expect to happen? This was probably the hardest question to ask myself. I wrote, honestly, looking back at how my other events have gone with Boltyn, overall I do think it has been a positive experience more often than not. Then I have had one bad event, and I don't like saying this, but I do think it was bad beats. I do think it was largely a matchup spread based 4 on the 7 rounds were my 2 worst matchups, and I got them very close to death, but I couldn't pull it out. As upset I was at the time, I knew there was room for improvement, and that has been the only times it has been bad. So I do think I would do well with the deck. The deck got a big upgrade with Spirit, and people still don't know how to play against the deck when it functions. With that being said, it would be my first pick once the meta settles. Most likely not. Would I pick it if Eternity was tomorrow? Actually, I do think it is on my radar for Pro Tour Baltimore, and there are a few RTIs in the coming months. I will leave you what is my current deck list with sideboard. Hi. Hello. So here is the current deck list that I have right here. As you can see, it is not too different than current decks. Like, you might see the Crown of Providence, like, be like, okay, every deck doesn't play Crown, but it's just Arsenal Protection, and then if I just need, like, an additional card, like, for my combo turn to, like, want to pay into Courage or have a card to pitch to Slagmine or something, I think in that spot, Providence is pretty good, but, like, I'm just trying to go Vroom Vroom, and I need cards in So, especially, like, on a Spirit build. If I have Spirit turn 1 and I have Halo, it's just absolutely insane. Or if I need the Spell Ward versus Kano, I think it's pretty good. The one thing I have thought about is turning this Snow Rune into Skullcat. The reason I've been thinking about turning it into Skullcat is because it's specifically versus Icelander. So actually, let's talk about Kano first. So versus Kano, I actually have AB4 because I can run Halo of Illumination boots and No Rune gloves. And I have Subway 2 and AB2. So their Wildfire will do 2 if they pump it up to the max. And they're not usually killing me from that point. So the No Rune gloves there isn't really doing much. It actually does less than what the Halo does. Now, yes, into the Kano matchup, you are trying to race, but because you're trying to race, you can leave yourself a little more vulnerable, and they can just get you with a random wildfire, even if you do have AB3, because you're running like, look, 24 yellows, 24 reds, 30 yellows. You're not running a lot of blues. You can just die with how you have to conduct most of your turns. You could just die. So having like at least the Spavoid 2 can maybe prevent me from being dead because sometimes their Wildfire for 4 doesn't kill. Those are often, but there are times where their map does not play around the Spell Void 2. Obviously, we're running 9 Bolt of Courage because the card's just insane, especially with decks like Dromai in the meta. We're running 3 CNC because CNC is just good on a 2-card hand. And again, Dromai is in the meta. We have cut blue and golfing line. The red and yellow are just fine because, again, decks like Dromai. And this is a card that usually will not get blocked, and I think adding 2 cards to so off of this is just absolutely good. Especially if they do decide to block us for whatever reason, now they have to commit 2 cards to this, which is just insane because it's one of the worst cards in the deck. or if they have to commit a card and equipment, you're just winning, right? Pretty good. Rolling red and a yellow express lightning, a clean, it's just clean charge. Not much to say about that. Rolling two favor scene, three sync. I have cut some of the D-Rex out of this deck because I do think we need to be a little more on the offensive. We need to be asking the questions. And just trying to race towards combo, and I don't think the cards like Fate and Sync do a lot there, bro, because things like Guardian is in the meta, because Azalea is now becoming more prevalent. I do think that we need to have some form of defense. Red Illuminate is back in the deck. It is a 0 for 4 that blocks 3. There's not much more I can ask. There's not many cards that just do this. The only downside is it doesn't have the keyword charge, right? It doesn't have the keyword charge, but again, because it doesn't have an actual one hit, and again, I really need to come out with this video. The mental aspect is, oh, it just puts a card in so. You don't like draw a card. You don't do anything else. Just goes to your so. Oh, yeah, sure, I'll let that hit. And it blocks 3. The only downside is it's red, but like, there was a world where I was maybe running the blue, but I do think a 0 for 2, people probably would cover that up. Even though, like I just said, people wouldn't want to block this, but the difference is this is 4, so they have to commit multiple cards to it, and because of the effect that we're getting, they wouldn't really want to block it then, if that makes sense. Rainbow Take Flight, it's an insane charge card, especially a late game. It's gonna help you close that game. I'm on one red Valiant Thrust. I become less and less impressed by this card in pure combo versions of the build, but obviously in the Raiden version, it's insane. But we still do want to add this just in case, it is a block 3. On a V for Vanguard turn, the card's absolutely nuts. If for some reason we go Take Flight into Valiant Thrust, like, that is just a lot of damage push. That can pretty much put someone into combo range just immediately from 40. Beacon Victory, it is just Lumina Ascensions 4, 5, and 6. It is also Spirit of Anaria on a stick. One other thing that I actually started doing. So against Rangers specifically, something I've actually started doing is I've actually just searched for CNC. Because remember, for an action card with 2 or less. So if I know this is a turn where I'm going to set this up, I'm going to be like, alright, swing with my Bolt of Courage. They block it with a card. I'm like, cool, Beacon of Victory for 2. It now goes up to 5. It now hits. I'm gonna search for this. Let's say it's a yellow card. Well, cool. Now I just pay for the CNC. It's pretty good. Obviously, there are times where like you could get a red. Oh, listen, that's not a common turn all the time. But obviously, like there are times where you're just going to get to have a 3 to 4 card hand, sometimes even 5 card hand, and that's where like a play like that really shines against Ranger. But it is not again always a thing that happens. Boltyn Blade, Viva Vanguard just makes this card's. It just makes it a 0 for 9 for some reason. If you get to charge with 2 cards, which that word should never be uttered, like ever, out of Boltyn deck. It's also pop for Dromai. Same thing with Cluster Clasm. 0 for 7, go again, pretty good. Pop it for Dromai. Blocks 3. Limited Ascension, this is your build around of the deck. You're obviously, for people who don't know, your weapons get +1, which obviously interacts with your hero ability. And whenever this hits, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a light card, it goes in your soul, you gain 1, so this can really help swing the life totals. And if you charge, for each limited ascension you have played, you get to swing at your weapon each time. So usually we play 2 limited ascensions, so your things will get to swing an additional 2 times. Obviously, the dream is the triple limited ascension. Get to swing with drums for 4 times, and they're +3. It's just kind of nuts. It's just kind of nuts. Everyone's just dead. Everyone is just dead to that. Soul Shield, amazing knee react. So glad we get to play it because it's just light defense, not like light illusions defense. Spirit, probably one of the most influential cards in this deck. At the time, I did not see the value of this card, but now that I've actually gotten to physically play with my hands on, like, I think this card is just insane. What I was doing, I did predict what this card would be used for. And I just did not think, oh, well now I don't care about Blizzard. I don't need Time Snap Potion. I don't have to have all these cards and stuff. I just play a Spirit of Anaria and then play 2 Luminous Speed. That's 2 action points I just got. So now I can actually combo with way less so. Way less so. It is insane. Beaver Vanguard just, dude, you pitch stack this. You pitch stack this, and you ask your opponent how long they feel like playing this game for. If you pitch stack Beaver Vanguards like 12 cards deep, like in spot to 3, like I don't think you lose that game, especially if you combo off. Because when you combo off, you get to actually see this combo a little bit sooner than normally would, because you're moving a bunch of cards from your library, and then you can just pop off with Beaver Vanguard, pumping all of your stuff. The sideboard is probably what is going to be the most interesting here. We have Bigger Light, just another popper for Droma, bringing up our popper count 2, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 14. Our popper count is 14 by total accident. So, like, I know I mentioned that this stuff is a popper for Dromai, but most of the stuff was not in here solely because of Dromai. I'd say, like, the only card that was intentionally here because of Dromai will be Bolting Blade. Because, like, outside of that, like, Bolting Blade, like, in our deck in a vacuum isn't good. It's just a worse Valiant Thrust. The thing with Valiant Thrust is because it gets the plus, you can keep going further. With Bolting Blade, like, it's just a 4 for 7 most of the time. It's not great. It could be a 2 for 7 on certain turns, but a lot of times it's just like, well, I guess I have nothing else to do. But especially turn 1, if this is your play, you just get a free soul no matter what. And because this doesn't have a traditional one hit, people won't like block this a lot of times. So if you're going second, now if you're going first, people will block this, which still get your free soul's fine. But if you're going second and you go Invigorating Light, well, people were like, well, he didn't charge, so cool, no blocks. It goes to soul still. If people want to put 2 cards in front of it, it still goes to soul. And it's a popper for Drovai, so like, oh yeah. Alright, my headset keeps dying for some reason, it's making me mad. So Hog is like probably the most lost in the sauce card in this. I think we've went absolutely nuts with these 2 for 7s. There is one reason why Sonny Woodhog is in this deck. Let's read Boltyn. Attack reaction. Manage a card from Cerebon Soul. Target attack with greater power than space gains go again. So what you're telling me is, if they don't want me to have a 2 for 7 with go again, they have to give me 2 cards. That seems like a good trade to me. If my opponent has to give me 2 cards and they can't really present anything back on their turn meaningfully, I think that is just such a large tempo swing, and I think we take that. That being said, we might still be lost in the sauce. One remembrance. There are times where you just need the remembrance for not fatigue decks, but post combo decks. Post combo, like there are times where like you're gonna want to get Luma Ascensions back, or want to get Celestial Cataclysms back, Beaver Vanguard's back, you know, CNC's back, but like Popper's back. Like there are times where you just need it, and I think at 1 it does fine. I think adding more is just a mistake. Finally, we own 3 Energy Potion. Into the Ice deck, you kind of just need a pot. Especially if it's against them, they have like Stalagmite, or you think they might have Blizzard in their hand. This just saves a lot of those turns by itself, so I think Energy Potion is in a really good spot. Guys, if you guys enjoyed this video and peeking a little bit into my mind when it comes to Boltyn, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, comment down below. Your feedback is always appreciated. It's been your boy Siphon from Siphon TCG. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.